Hello my dear children, welcome back to English class. Today we are going to see prose number 8, Silk Road, written by Nick Middleton. So this prose is from your Hornbill book. Now let's see about the prose. So in this story, the protagonist, the narrator, okay, he is willing to go to Mount Kailash, and he starts his journey from the slopes of Ravu. Ravu is in Tibet, okay, and from there he is going to Mount Kailash. It is approximately 1300 kilometers to the west of Tibet, and he is going to travel by car, okay. So along with him, who are those two people we are going to see. But before that, let me explain you what is Silk Road. So children, this road was found by China, okay. It was made by China, and this road is also called Silk Route, okay. And this is a very old road, children. This is a very ancient route which was made only for trade purpose, okay, which connected China with the other eastern and western countries from till Europe also. Now you can see in the map the route. So this route is called Silk Route, or it is also called Silk Road. So this was especially meant for trading, and from China the silk went to west, and from west wool, gold, silver, everything came to the east, okay. So this road is approximately 6400 kilometers road, okay. The distance of this road is approximately 6400 kilometers. So now you understood, children, why this road was called Silk Road, because silk trading was done through this road, okay. That is why it was called Silk Road. Now in this lesson, the main protagonist, his name is not given, he is just indicated as protagonist, okay. So he is planning to go to Mount Kailash through which road? Through Silk Road, okay. And he is taking along with him his friend and one driver. We are going to see them, and he is planning to go by car, okay. And where he has to reach, where is his destination? Mount Kailash. And he is planning to do the Kora, okay. Kora means it is a meditation performed by Buddhists, okay, like going in a circular motion, completing the circumference of the Mount Kailash. So let's begin, children. So here is our narrator. He is the main protagonist in this lesson, okay, who is going to go on Kora, okay, on Mount Kailash. He is going to complete the Kora. Then this is Lamo. She is a friend of the protagonist. Then we have Daniel, who is going to accompany the protagonist till halfway, okay, till Darchen, and after that he will come back. Next we have the driver, Seaton. His name is Seaton, and he is the driver. He is going to drive our narrator from Ravu to Mount Kailash. So the whole story is about the beautiful journey of the narrator till Mount Kailash. So usually whenever we go somewhere, we see beautiful scenery, yeah, different types of animals, and different languages people speak in their own region, the different types of clothes which they wear in their own region. So likewise here also the narrator, he is going to describe us his journey and what kind of animals he saw and what kind of scenery he is going to see, and everything he is going to explain to us. So Lamo, when she came to know that the narrator was going to complete the Kora, she gave him a long sleeved sheepskin coat, okay, which usually the men wore in the Mount Kailash because it was very cold up there. So she gave him a long sleeved sheepskin coat, okay, as a present she gave him. And after that he took his friend Daniel and his driver Seaton, and all three of them, they started their journey from Ravu to Mount Kailash. So they started rolling down the hills of Ravu, and they also took a shortcut towards Mount Kailash, which was open plains with nothing in them. And on the way they saw a few animals, a few gazelles. Here you can see in the picture. So these are gazelles, children. Gazelles, gazelles. So few gazelles they saw. And after crossing a few kilometers, they saw some wild donkeys. Okay, so here you can see some wild donkeys also they saw. They were eating their grass and all that. So it was quite void. Okay, it was quite empty. The place was empty.
As they climbed higher, the place became very rocky, and they also passed solitary drogbas tending their flocks. Drogbas means the shepherds. And not only that, children, on the way he also saw so many tents, very dark tents where nomads lived. Nomads means gypsies, okay, the people who just travel from one place to another. They also had big, dark, black dogs. They are called Tibetan Mastiff. So standing as a guard, okay, and they were looking like very shaggy monsters, very black, very dark, and they also had they barked very furiously, and they also had very massive jaws, very big teeth, and they were looking very furious. And they also looked fearless when they saw any strangers, especially the protagonist. When the vehicle arrived, they looked very fearless, okay, they were very brave dogs. So as they traveled, they saw snow-capped mountains gathering on the horizon, and they entered into the valley where the river was wide and mostly clogged with ice. Okay, mostly it was covered with ice, and it was looking like pure white. It was looking, the river was looking very beautiful, okay, and it was fully covered with snow-capped valleys. And now the road had become very sharper, and the ride was even more bumpier. Okay, bumpier means just going up and down, okay, not a straight road. So of course it was a valley, so even the roads they were not straight, they were just very much bumpier. And Seaton, the driver, he was on his third gear, and he continued climbing on the valley. Okay, so now on one side it was looking very much slopey, and also the other side it was the river was quite icy. So the whole scenery was quite beautiful, and it was so pleasant to watch. So at this point, the protagonist, he looked at his wristwatch, and he found that he was approximately 5,210 meters above the sea level. Okay, so it was getting very much colder and colder, and it was completely surrounded with ice. Okay, with snow, icy top layer, and they continued their journey. So the slope was quite steep, and it was studded with major big rocks, and somehow this Seaton, the driver, he negotiated them. Okay, he just went he was very much successful in crossing all those rocks. Okay, the way was completely surrounded with big rocks. Okay, and so many obstacles also came, but he overcame all the obstacles. He was a good driver, and one after the other he just passed the hairpin bends also. So you can just visualize, children. Here you have to visualize how difficult it was for them to drive through such a difficult road. So it was like an adventurous journey for them. So at this point again he saw his watch, and now he found out that he was approximately 5,400 meters above the sea level. So his heart started throbbing, and his head also started aching. So he took his water bottle and took a little gulps of water. So they continued the journey on the hilly, rocky mountain, and finally they reached the top of the pass at 5,515 meters, 5515 meters, and it was marked by a very large rocks all the side. Okay, and there were so many white color silk scarves, they were hanging here and there, and ragged prayer flags were also flying, okay, here and there they were there. And suddenly they all came down, and they started going around the Khan, that is the rock, the holy rock, and they started going in the clockwise direction. Even when we go to temple, when we go around the god statue, what do we do? Clockwise direction only, as a tradition. Yes or no? It is there in the tradition. So they also did the same. Now at this point, Seaton, the driver, he checked the tires on the vehicles, okay, of the vehicles, and he stopped at the petrol tank, and he unscrewed the top of that petrol tank, and there was some kind of hissing sound came out from the petrol tank. So it was because of the lower atmospheric pressure which was allowing the fuel to expand. Okay. So it was, it looked very dangerous, but Seaton, the driver, he alarmed the friend Daniel as well as the protagonist, the narrator, not to smoke. Okay, because the fuel was expanding because of lower atmospheric pressure. So it could be dangerous if there was smoking and all. So he asked them not to smoke. So by this time it was 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and they were very hungry. So they stopped in a small hotel to eat noodles. Okay, and it was a long canvas tent. The hotel was looking like that, and there were so many flags here and there. It was looking like a part of work camp, okay, beside a dry salt lake. So it was looking quite like a plateau, and so many people were also there inside the hotel to have the lunch. So it was almost 2, and they were very hungry, and by this time the headache was completely cleared for the protagonist, the narrator. So after having their lunch, again they started their journey, and by late afternoon they reached a small town called Hor, H-O-R, Hor, which was in the east-west highway that followed the old trade route from Lhasa to Kashmir. Okay. So from here Daniel was about to return to Lhasa, because only till here they planned to journey together. So from here Daniel was ready to say farewell to the narrator. Okay, he was going to Lhasa again. So there was a truck. So this Daniel, he took a lift, and he just bade farewell to the driver as well as to the narrator. He said bye, and he left from that place in a truck. Okay, he got a lift in the truck. So after this, the car, it had 2 punctures. So after repairing all those things, again they started their journey. Okay, and even the second tire he had to replace it because it was getting bumpier and bumpier. Okay. So Hor, H-O-R, Hor, this place the protagonist, is explaining that it was a kind of very miserable and very sad place, because there was no vegetation at all. It was quite looking very dusty, and so many rocks were there. It was quite rocky, okay, and no vegetation, so it was looking like very infertile and not a happy place to live in. So it was looking very, very sad and miserable place. So there was a small cafe, the only cafe in Hor. So the protagonist, the narrator, he was asked to go inside the cafe and have a small drink, like something like a tea or something, a hot cup of tea, because it was very cold up there. Yes or no? So he went inside the only cafe of Hor and he started having the tea. And the tea was served by a Chinese youth. He was wearing a military uniform and his clothes were quite dirty. It was full of grease, and he also spread the grease on the table also, and he cleaned the table with a small dirty cloth. So he brought a small glass of tea. So he had that and he sat there for nearly half an hour, and after half an hour Seaton, he came and he took the narrator, okay, towards the westwards of the town. So the only thing which the narrator knew about Hor, that village, was in 1900 a Japanese monk, he arrived there, and after seeing the lake in Hor, he burst into tears. Okay, so this was the only thing which he knew about Hor, and after that only today he arrived in Hor, and he didn't like Hor. He didn't find it much appealing, because it was quite dry, as I already told you, and there was no vegetation. So now it was very dark, because it was around 10:30 p.m. It was night, and they arrived in the guest house in Darchen. Darchen is a place, and they wanted to stay there because it was quite dark. Okay, it was night time, so it was safe to stay there in that guest house. So here the protagonist, the narrator, he had a cup of herbal tea, and one of his nostrils was completely blocked. Okay, he was not able to breathe, and he had a cup of tea also, and he was not feeling well, because he was not able to breathe properly, and his chest was also filled with very, very heavy he was feeling, and he was not able to breathe, children. So he laid down for for some time, and he thought that it was little bit, he was feeling better. So he did not get a proper deep sleep. So here Seaton, the driver, he took the narrator to the medical college of Darchen, and the next morning he took him there. And the medical college at Darchen was, it was looking like a monastery. It was not looking like a hospital, it was looking like a monastery where the monks stay. And he found the consulting room, which was dark and cold, and it was there was a Tibetan doctor inside the room. Okay, so he went there, and he was not wearing a white coat. Usually doctors we see, they wear white coats and all, but here the doctor, no white coat he was wearing, and he was looking like any other Tibetan person. Okay, he was wearing a thick pullover like a scarf, and also a woolly hat he was wearing. And this narrator, he explained his sleepless symptoms, and he was not feeling all the symptoms he explained. So the doctor, after hearing all the symptoms and all that, and he also felt the veins on the wrist, he finally came to a conclusion that it was just a minor cold. Okay, and it was because of the effects of the altitude, because he was at the height of approximately around 5,000 meters above the sea level. So obviously it was very cold, and as we already know that it was completely surrounded with snow, ice and all that. So it was quite normal that he had catch cold, and the doctor said it that he would be fine. Okay, so after this, the narrator, he came out of the medical college, and he was also having a brown color envelope with a few paper in that, and he had medicines in that brown color envelope. Okay, it was a 5-day course of the Tibetan medicines. So he came back to the guest house. After having his breakfast, he opened one of the packages. It was brown color powder in that. He took some hot water, mixed that powder in it, and it just tasted like cinnamon. Cinnamon means what? For biryani and all, we put a brown color stick. Yes or no? That's called cinnamon. Patte appdin solluvaanga. So it was tasting like that. Okay, and a few dosages he had after lunchtime and his bedtime also. So he had that, and he was feeling a little okay, because he had a good sleep. Not very deep sleep, but it was anyway better than the previous night. The next morning, after waking up, he came out, and finally he saw Darchan, because now he was feeling well. So he looked at the scenario of Darchan, and it was quite good, better than Hor at least. And the sun was shining brilliantly, and the sky was very clear, very blue, clear blue sky. And also it was fully surrounded with plains, so it was looking very beautiful. And he also saw snow-capped mountains, the Himalayan mountains, Gurla Mandata it is called, and it was looking very pleasant and beautiful. He also found some general stores selling Chinese cigarettes, soap, and other basic provisions, and he also saw some prayer flags. And this narrator, he was told that it was the height of pilgrimage season, and so many visitors used to visit during this season. Okay, and they usually, all of them, they used to bring their own accommodation, and because that was a pilgrimage area. Okay, and every year during this season, so many pilgrims arrived at that place. And this narrator, he couldn't find anyone who could speak good English over there until he found a person called Norbu. Okay, so Norbu he found in a small dark cafe, and he was the only person who knew a little bit of English. So this Norbu, he was actually a Tibetan, and he was working in Beijing in China, and he was a student of social sciences in the Institute of Ethnic Literature. Okay, and he came there just like the narrator. He also wanted to do the Kora, and he also wanted to know the importance in various work of Buddhist and literature. Okay, so he was very much interested in knowing all those things. So he was the only person who could speak a little bit of English. So they had a very long chat, and this Norbu was quite interesting, and he also told him that how fat he was, and even now he was very fat. He had a very a big tummy. So he was keeping on telling about himself, and after talking for a long time, the narrator came to know that Norbu was also staying in the same guest house where he was staying. So this was quite relief for him that he got one friend, a company to the pilgrimage, okay, for the Kora. So he was very happy. So they decided to hire some yaks to carry their luggage, and this narrator, he had no intention of lying down flat all over the mountain because of heavy luggage. So he decided to hire some yaks. Okay, so Norbu finally he he said it was not possible for him, and he collapsed across the table. He fell down across the table. He continuously, hilariously, he started laughing, and he said not possible. Okay, because his tummy was looking too big, and for him it was not possible to complete the Kora. So there ends the lesson, children. Now let me tell you the summary of this lesson. So here the protagonist, he wanted to go to Mount Kailash to complete the Kora. So he hired Seaton to drive him up to Mount Kailash, and as a farewell gift, Lamo gave him a long sleeved sheepskin coat, and he also took Daniel as a companion till Darchin. Okay, so when the journey started, Seaton, he took a shortcut to the southwest, which was a direct route to Mount Kailash, and they had to cross high mountain passes to reach their destination. So here Seaton assured him that it would be no problem if there would be no snow. They crossed through few gazelles, a herd of wild donkeys, and also some shepherds who were taking care of those animals. Okay, so they were grazing the wild grass and all. So when they reached the hill, they passed dark tents, which were homes for nomads. Nomads are the gypsies, the people, those who go from place to place. And he also saw a Tibetan Mastiff dog, a huge dog, like as a guard he was staying there. Okay. So these mastiffs, they ran after the car. They were fearless. They were very, very big and black in color, and they also barked very furiously, and they had very large jaws. Okay, very big teeth they had. So as soon as they entered the valley, they witnessed snow-capped mountains with beautiful river flowing, which were blocked with ice. When they were riding through the hill, the turns became sharper, and even the roads became bumpier. Okay, so Seaton was driving in the third gear. The protagonist, the narrator, could feel the pressure in his ears. Normally when we go at altitude, our ears get blocked, okay, because of the pressure. And he held his nose, snorted to clear the way. At this point, he checked his wristwatch, and they were at 5,210 meters above the sea level. They reached their first hurdle, the first obstacle, which was a road filled with snow. So here Seaton, he threw the snow on the either side of the roads to clear the road, and they started their journey. So the protagonist felt his head, it was hurting. He got headache, and so he drank a few sips of water from the bottle. So they were still climbing the hill, and now they reached at 5,515 meters above the sea level. So here they stopped, and it was time to fill their fuel tank. So when he opened it, when Seaton he opened it, it gave some hissing sound because of the lower atmospheric pressure. Okay, and Seaton told them not to smoke around it. Soon in the afternoon, around 2 o'clock, they stopped for lunch. They had hot noodles in a local restaurant, and the narrator's headache was also gone by now. Okay, so by late afternoon, they reached a small town called Hor, Hor, and they reached the east-west highway again. So it was the old route from Lhasa to Kashmir, and now Daniel got off the car. He got down from the car, and he took a lift to Lhasa. He went there by a truck, by a lorry. Okay, and the car, it had a few punctures which worried Seaton, and he got them fixed at and the narrator, he was waiting at a local cafe in Hor, okay, and he had a glass of tea which was served by a young Chinese server, okay. So they started their journey again, and at night around 10:30 p.m. they stopped at a guest house in Darchen to spend the night. And now the narrator, he got ill and he suffered from nose congestion due to the change in altitude and cold weather, okay. So he stayed awake all night, as we know that he was not able to sleep properly, so he stayed awake. And next morning, Seaton the driver, he took him to the Tibetan Medical College, where he consulted a Tibetan doctor who gave him a 5-day course medicines in a brown envelope. So after taking a full day medicine, the narrator, the protagonist, he was feeling better, he was feeling good, and Seaton left him thereafter, assuring his health condition, okay. So Seaton, he left that place. So this protagonist, the narrator, he was staying in Darchen, he was staying in the guest room, and the next morning when he came out, he found some general stores which sold Chinese cigarettes and soaps and some other provisions also. In the afternoon, the men gathered at the shabby table, very dirty table, to play pool every day. They were playing cards and all, okay. And it is also revealed by the local people that this was a season, it was a peak season of pilgrimage, and the place would be filled with the travelers, okay. He met a person in the Darchen's only cafe. There was only one cafe. So one day he went there, and there he found a person called Norbu, who was, a little plump, who had a big round tummy. So he was a Tibetan, but he was working in Beijing, China, at the Institute of Ethnic Literature of Chinese Academy of Social Sciences. And they had a nice chat, because Norbu was the only person who could speak good English in whole Darchen. So this protagonist, the narrator, he was very happy to meet this man. And after talking a while, they came, both of them, they came to know that they had come to complete the Kora. And completing the Kora is not an easy job, children. It was very difficult. You have to go round the big mountain, okay. And this fellow Norbu, he was very fat, and he found it very difficult to walk to complete the Kora, okay. So the protagonist, he decided to go on a pilgrimage with him, and he also suggested that they would hire some yaks to carry their luggage. So Norbu, finally, he said that it was not possible for him, and he collapsed across the table, and he started laughing hilariously, and his tummy was also too big. It was seen by the protagonist, okay. So here ends the lesson, children. I hope you understood it. Now it is just like a travelogue, okay. So travelogue means what? You travel to some place and you just keep on writing what you saw on the way, what kind of people you saw, and what kind of lifestyle they were living, and what kind of animals you can see over there, what kind of language, the food, the lifestyle, things like this. So whenever we go on a travel, we see a different place, very unusual thing, right? So likewise here, the protagonist, the narrator, he also he also explains what he saw during his journey to Mount Kailash. Okay, so the lesson is over, children, and it is advisable to please read the lesson Silk Road from your book. Okay, take your book Hornbill, and you can find this lesson on page number 74. Okay, so read about this, and on YouTube also you can find some videos regarding this Kora and all. Just go and watch how people go around the mountain and how they complete Kora, and what kind of animals they use to carry their luggage and all that. Okay, so that's it, children. I hope you understood. Please read the lesson from your book and mark all the difficult words and write the meanings. Thank you, children. Have a nice day.